seconds until the stream notification goes by. I think, yes, we're live pretty much everywhere. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of PitchGround Live. Today I have a team before sunset, and there's going to be quite a good amount of interesting conversations that we're going to have. And then we're going to be diving in to understanding the entire product and why another project management tool, right? And why Before Sunset in particular. We're going to be discussing about all of those things. But before we get started, Jalem and Batu, if you can just each of you introduce yourself, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I'll let Jaylan start.
Perfect. Woman to start. I love it. So I'm Jaylan. I was born and raised in Turkey. I grew up there, and then I moved to America to go to UC Berkeley, which is where I graduated from, as you can see on my sweater. Right now, I'm among one of the co-founders of Before Sunset. I'm one of the managing partners, and I particularly lead the marketing and growth efforts in the US. And I'm based in New York.
Awesome, brilliant. Batu?
All right. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm so excited, so happy. For some reason, it's kicking me out of the screen share, but I hope you can hear me and see it.
Yeah, we usually are going to have a conversation first before we dive into the presentation.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I'm Batuhan. I go by Batu as well. I am one of the managing partners of Before Sunset. I moved to the US back in 2014 and pursued a degree in mechanical engineering, did both of my undergrad and grad programs there in Louisville. And I am a huge productivity geek. I love trying to, make sure that I do the things the most productive way possible. And that's how I kind of cross paths with Before Sunset. And it's been a great couple of months here, and we're looking to expand further and talk to you more about the product that we made.
Awesome, brilliant. So I'm going to shoot up some very tough questions right away, right? Before we dive into the product. Why yet another project management tool?
I can jump in here very quick.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. We can explain in like two separate segments, and I can come in as like from personal experience. So a couple of things. As you know, Gen Z and millennials are now taking over the workforce, and that is making huge transitions in the way they prioritize working, like work-life balance. They want to be able to work, they want the flexibility to be able to work from everywhere, but they also prioritize being as productive as possible during the times that they work. That doesn't mean that they have to work more hours. They just want to make the optimum use of their time. And so with that trend and those trends with millennials and Gen Z joining the workforce just accelerated with the pandemic because everyone was forced to work from home. There was immediate transitions into like different ways of working. Flexibility had to be introduced by even the biggest corporations. And so with these global trends, like just kind of fusing the acceleration of these trends, we noticed that there was a huge gap in the productivity and time management landscape. What that means is there are many tools out there, but what Gen Z and millennials particularly need is a tool that is going to be holistic yet simple to use. The user interface has to understand them and respond to their needs. And at the same time, it needs to prioritize the workers. What we're seeing right now with a lot of tools is they're prioritizing the employers rather than the employees. And what's happening right now, there's a huge increase in the use of freelancers, hourly workers. And while this industry keeps growing and it's led by the workers themselves, the employers tend to get the bigger hand with all these tools and platforms. But what we wanted to do with Before Sunset was to improve the worker, empower the employee to make the most efficient use of their time, but at the same time be able to prioritize their own well-being as well. So that's why, as we're going to dive into a little bit in a bit, all our futures are geared towards empowering the workers as well as making them the most productive version of themselves as possible.
Yeah, to add on that a little bit, so we go to different platforms, we talk to them, we say like, okay, here's Before Sunset, here's what we're doing, and yet another time tracker, yet another project management tool. That's something that we hear consistently, and we just want to make sure that, like Jaylan said, first of all, we're not yet another one of those. We want to make sure that we empower, we give the tools to the users as well as the project managers and account managers. Those are the three main, profiles you can create within the application, so they can work better and give themselves the time to relax and finish work before sunset. And the other thing is, when we look at the competitive landscape, we see multiple different companies that try to do something similar that you would think, oh, we're just another one of those. What they do is they focus on time and task management. What we have learned from our research and experience in the field, managing the time and task is not enough by itself. We need to be able to manage those, keep track of those, as well as keep track of the project, keep track of the project budget, the company budget, and just keep track of the team and how they collaborate. Make sure that they are optimizing the way they work together. So we combine those all 5 items and we call it work management. That's how we kind of differ ourselves from our competition, because we see unless you put those 5 together, like the Infinity Stones on Marvel, you cannot achieve high productivity. You're always missing something. Like you can be like Udit can be tracking his time and tasks individually, but if we're working in the same team with Udit and we don't know exactly what Udit is working on, we cannot have a chance to collaborate with him and increase the quality of the product, as well as maybe even lifting some of the work off of Udit's shoulders, which would make the product better again and make Udit happier because he's no longer getting that burnout feeling that most of the people in that new workforce are feeling right now, because we've been challenged to do a lot. We've been told that you need to do everything, you need to excel at everything, and we've been just like kind of attacking everything like a hungry wolf, and eventually we just don't know when to give up or when to say like, okay, I've done enough today, or like I need to ask some help, work with a team, etc. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that incredible information. That leads to my next question. What's the story behind coming up with the name BeforeSunset?
So that's actually an interesting story. So our story dates back to a couple of years ago when a software company based out of Turkey, Brew Interactive, was looking to increase their productivity and increase the value of the product that they're doing by keeping track of what they're doing, how they're doing, the money they're spending, etc. And they went out to the other tools before our tool was present. And they said like, oh, okay, I mean, I'm doing somewhat what I need, but it's not simple. It's not, holistic. It's not giving me everything I want. So they said like, well, we've gathered a lot of information by trying multiple different tools. We're a great software company. We love to build. So why don't we build one for ourselves? So there was some, they had some downtime and they were like, you know what, let's see what we can do. And the founder of Brew Interactive said like, you know what, I want people to be able to put in their time and their tasks and their projects before sunset, so I can see what is coming up tomorrow. So he just called it Project Before Sunset, and then we were like working on it, and then we're like, you know what, this is a great name. Like this just explains exactly what we want to do. We want to empower the employees. We need to make sure that everyone has some time for their families, their friends, themselves, instead of, just looking out of the window, it's dark in the morning, and then you lift your head, you look again, it's dark, but it's at night. We don't want that, because that just decreases productivity and the motivation, the morale. It's because psychology, Jaylan studies psychology, so she can speak a little bit on that. But if you don't add a little bit of that those morale building, those enthusiastic tasks to your day, if you don't have time for those because you simply didn't track your time while you were working, you just get burned out and don't want to do anything, which is not what we want.
There is also an interesting twist when it comes to the story, because the location where a Brew Interactive and then BeforeSunset was founded is actually Izmir, Turkey. And you can think of Izmir as the California of Turkey. It's like by the coast, everyone goes there during the summer. It's beautiful weather. You look at the sea, it's just like very difficult it's a difficult place to work. Kind of like California, where the weather is always nice. And it's kind of difficult to like get productive, get working and grinding. And so I think like the location of our main office, it's right by a kite surfing beach. It's like that kind of a vibe. Like think of that in your mindset. And so it's only natural that a lot of people want to be productive during the day, but be able to finish their work before sunset, because Izmir people are known to value their downtime, and they're known to value their work-life balance, their family time, being able to enjoy nature, the sunset. And the sunsets in Izmir are the most beautiful things that need to be watched. Like my father makes it a habit to watch the sunset with a wine glass every single afternoon. So I know that it's so valuable for a lot of people to be able to make the workday work for themselves. And that's why we love the name Before Sunset. We want to empower people to be able to make up their workday in a way that will work for them. And if that's something, watching the sunset and like getting some time off after sunset is something that they want to do, we want to be able to give that to them.
I think I absolutely love that story. I think everyone watching here, getting some reactions in the chat. I think they're pretty much loving it. Coming down to a bit more about your team. How big is the team? When was the project started? How much time did it take you guys to develop? If you can like touch base on that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So the bare bones, like the internal aspect of it, that was not very elaborate and was just like the starting of what we currently know as Before Sunset. That was created during COVID times. So that was like kind of like the downtime that they had. They were like, you know what, like we've started doing something, let's build on it. But it turning into like this, company, this startup that is proactively reaching out to customers, making sure that they know our mission, our vision, our values, and how we think it will match with them. That really started, I would say Q3 of this year. It's relatively new, and Q2, Q3 of this year. And it's been constantly, making sure that we collect feedback from the customers, make sure that we create a product roadmap, a public product roadmap that our users can go to and say like, okay, they're planning on doing this right now. They will be doing this in the future. They're releasing this in 2 weeks. So they'll be able to see what we're doing on that front. And that will be continuing throughout the next couple of years, hopefully, and making sure that we give them a superior product at the end of the day.
Awesome. Can you also touch base a bit about the funding side?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give it to Jaylan on that to speak a little bit.
Sure. We're currently running on angel investment, and that's we closed our first investment round with $250,000 of investment money. It was basically somewhere in between a friends and family round and an angel investment round. We're currently running on that money, and a lot of that is going through to the platform development side and also the team building. We built an amazing team. Everyone is super dedicated, super excited to build Before Sunset together, and also being able to put that in front of a wider audience. So that is why we're here essentially today, because we want Before Sunset as a platform is ready to meet its first batch of power users, and it started to gain a lot of traction, and we want it to just go out into the world and empower users everywhere.
And
Awesome.
to have like a quick plug-in, like we really appreciate the PitchGround community with respect to what that has enabled us to do, reach out to a great audience and bring them in for a lifetime of value. So and what some of the next steps that we're looking into here is to go for another investing round to keep that funding going. And then we are aiming to hit 2 different targets in Q2 and Q4 of 2023. And in the meantime, we just want to continuously increase our power user base, and not to only bring in revenue. We want to be able to build together, build in public, just get that feedback and be the company, be the group that people go to and say like, listen, we've been using your tool for X amount of days, X amount of months. It's great, but I think if you do this, you'll just excel. And like when we hear stuff like that, it just puts a smile on our faces. We go like, you know what, we love this. Thank you very much. It wasn't on our plan, or we turn back and say like, it is on our plan and it's coming. So really appreciate for you to validate what we are planning on doing as a power user, say like this will add significant amount of value to the product.
Awesome, brilliant. Thank you so much, Batu and Jaylan, for that. I think we can get started with the presentation. Meanwhile, I'm collecting all the questions that I'm getting from different streams, YouTube, Facebook, and the DMs that we're getting. So I'm collecting that and I'm like asking all those questions at the end. So Batu, all over to you now.
Okay, so I'll start with the presentation. Some of the things that we kind of answered and talked through during the Q&A. So we might be kind of skipping those over. But at the end, we'll just go ahead and show you how the product actually works and what are the benefits, what are some of the things that are upcoming, and how we are looking to integrate with the community here.
Sounds awesome.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right, so Before Sunsets. First of all, I'll pass it to Jaylan.
All right. So we kind of walked through who we are and what our team is, but here's a sneak peek into our managing partners. You know me, you know Batan, and who's missing here is Elif, who is our CEO. She's essentially the leader of how the magic happens. She's leading the entire team and like is a big reason why the team is working with dedication every single day. She brings a smile to every one of our employees' faces every day, and she's amazing. Her background in development really helps us understand what's missing with the platform, how we can develop it, and then with the vision that's coming in and the feedback that's coming in from our users and the wider team, the investments and advisors, we've been building the platform together. So it's a dream team, really.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And here's an overlook of one of the team meetings that we had. We have about 15 employees currently. We're constantly growing. Most of them are located in Turkey. We have presence in the US as well with me and Jayden, as well as some of our advisory board members who are immensely helpful while we're developing the product, our company profile, and overall marketing strategies.
And that photo was taken from this morning's meeting, actually.
Yeah, we were
to be authentic.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We need to show the smiling faces, this energy to everyone who will be joining our webinar, because like I personally feel super energized every time I hop on a call with these individuals. They're always just smiling, always happy, always have something to talk about when it comes to the product and how we're developing things throughout the company.
But one thing that I do want to highlight with this image, and it's actually becoming glaringly obvious to me right now, we are actually an anomaly in the tech industry, given that a majority of our team is women. So BeforeSunset is a women-led company, and of course, like we want to create an equal distribution. It didn't happen to be like it just so happened to be this way. And Batuan and Deniz, who are our little flowers in our team, are really guiding us to this direction. But we're very proud to be an anomaly in this sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a pleasure to work with all of these individuals. So looking at our purpose, really just kind of combining all the years of experience and what we wanted to get out of the tool that we wanted, like Brew Interactive wanted to use in the first place versus what we created, is to eliminate loss of productivity and value. And we do that by introducing this work management system that can provide actual insights, not to only employees, but employers and account managers and everyone involved. And we also, what makes us significantly different from our competition is making sure that we foster team collaboration. Because if we don't, then there's no point of saying like, oh, this is a tool that can be used by a team. False. Like you need to be able to foster that and make sure that everyone is doing what they need to do and everyone is aware of what is happening. So I did touch on this a little bit, but to reiterate, Brew Interactive created the backbones of the tool, and they created it because they were just simply shocked due to the lack of simple yet resourceful alternative that they could use in their daily work life. And after creating BeforeSunset, they started using it. They started accumulating hours, and slowly they realized like, oh, we're not the only ones needing this tool. Their suppliers were needing it. The customers that they were working with were saying like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Like you're pulling reports from this tool. Can you share a little bit more how you're using? Maybe we'll be interested in too. And that's when they started thinking, okay, maybe there's a bigger market for this. And one of the biggest kickers that showed them that yes, there is a market for this, despite all the alternatives in quotation marks that are out there, was the fact that there are 59 million hours that is currently not being captured in timesheets every day worldwide. And that's a big number. Can you imagine just what you could do by capturing those 59 million hours that is not being kept track of? They're just doing stuff, but no one knows what they're doing except unless they're taking like manual notes somewhere or something. But the other team members, the other employees, they just don't know. Some facts that come with the problem, like factual problems, I would say, is most of us in today's world, we are forced to multitask. Some of you might be answering emails right now. Some of you might be chatting on Slack. By doing that and not keeping track of you doing that, you're reducing your productivity by 45%. That is a fact. And another fact is you're spending up to 4 hours on unproductive tasks without actually knowing it because you're not keeping track of it. And when you're interrupted while you're doing your work and not realize you're interrupted, it takes you about 24 minutes to actually get back to what you initially were doing, and you just lost that window. And if that happens, 5 times a day, it's a significant amount of time. It's over 2 hours.
But Tom, could you make your screen full screen, by the way?
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Yes. So when we don't track those 59 million hours and end up losing productivity by 45% and etc., our research and experience have shown that really 3 main populations suffer the dire consequences. The employer, they end up having to deal with unpredictable schedules. They don't know who's doing what and who to assign which task. The employee eventually needs to either work overtime or get more tasks than what they were initially promised. So they feel like they're not getting paid enough for the effort, which is a horrible thing to have in an employee population. And finally, the clients, due to the uncertainty revolving around the work that they've asked for the company to do, they have to deal with unexpected costs and potentially missed deadlines, which is not what you want once it comes to a client interaction. Our solution is essentially a work management tool that works for you. By capturing those 59 million hours, we promise to offer actionable insights, foster team collaboration, and help with efficient budget management. I did talk a little bit on this, but looking at the competitive landscape, what makes us different is the fact that we're combining those 5 things together: time, task, project, budget, and team. The other competition usually focuses on 2 of those and lack the simplicity that we can offer to our user base. That makes us different. I'll pass it to Jayla.
Yeah. So BeforeSunset, as we were mentioning, can essentially be used by anyone who would like to become more productive during their workday, who would like to get a better understanding of what is taking up most of their time, and as well as like budget reporting, etc. It can be used for a plethora of reasons. But from our research and our customer explorations, we've noticed that we can kind of create 3 main customer profiles and under 3 buckets. So for companies with hourly workers, BeforeSunset is the optimal tool, because time tracking is a necessity because of reporting and because of managing these hourly workers. So both on the employer and the employee side, hourly workers really need these kind of tools and have to use these kind of tools. And so we have noticed that companies with hourly workers have been really optimizing their employee well-being as well as their productivity with BeforeSunset. And with BeforeSunset, they can gain access to seamless billing interfaces for accurate compensation, because we've noticed that a lot of freelancers, their main grievance is not getting paid their worth, or they go overtime. It allows for hourly employees to report easier to their clients or their superiors. And then also it allows for employers to track their team's time commitment, because you get a holistic view of which of your employees are working how many hours on which projects, what's taking up more time, etc. Jumping into the second bucket is the product companies. So for product companies, they're able to see which tasks are taking up undue time and effort for their employees, access detailed reports on their team's performances, and gain actionable insights for their employees and team. So this allows for especially product companies to optimize both their team workflows as well as become for their managers to be able to lead better with actionable insights that can actually lead to results and efficiencies. Finally, for freelancers, as I touched on this a little bit earlier, the pandemic as well as Gen Z and millennials trends towards flexibility and remote working has allowed the freelancer number across the globe to surge to unseen amounts. And so for freelancers, it's very essential for them to track their time and be able to earn their worth, because a lot of freelancers will agree with me, and I know this because I freelance myself as well. Work never seems to stop. You wake up with your first meeting, and then you probably close your computer right before going to bed. It's like, and continuously that there's a need to be on and there's the need to be working, because the more you work, the more you earn. But that's not essentially the case, because if you optimize and track your time in the right way, you can actually earn more by committing less time, and then also be able to just like maintain your well-being throughout the process. So for freelancers, we allow them to track their time, create invoices for their project, track their daily tasks and projects at the meantime, and also gain insights to enhance their productivity and optimize their workday.
To add a little bit on that, based on like how Jaylan was talking about, like, oh, you feel like you're always on. That is absolutely true for someone who's like working in the freelance industry, or someone, work in any of these options really. But I want to give one example that really strikes me as a slam dunk feedback, or like slam dunk actionable insight that this tool can provide you. While Brew Interactive was using this tool, they started to accumulate months of data, and then they combined it with the data that they previously have collected, and they realized something very, very important. The weekly hour, like the weekly amount of time that an individual employee works, you would expect for a full-time employee to be 40 hours, right? Incorrect. They found that their employees can only track up to 30 hours a week. Not that they were not doing stuff. They were doing it, but what they realized is that 10-hour window within the week is used for different tasks, or maybe impromptu meetings, like kind of standing meetings. And they were not actually working towards a specific task as they would initially expect they would be doing. So what would the management do if they had an information like this? They wouldn't go lecture their employees. That's not what we want. We want them to say, okay, if I have a project that I, based on historical data, think will finish in 150 hours, I wouldn't go and give it to 4 employees for a closure within a week. I would go and say, you know what, 5 employees, 30 hours, excuse me, that should be 150 hours. So you're literally preventing those 4 employees to overwork and maybe spend time outside of work to finish a project. Instead, you're properly thinking ahead and say, you know what, I need another employee here to help them finish the project in the timeline initially agreed. All right. Oops. So next up, I want to talk about 2 business cases, sorry, 2 use cases for a company without BeforeSunset and one with BeforeSunset. And these are product companies that we're using the example of. So let's say company A is a company that doesn't use BeforeSunset or any other means of proper work management. And client, let's say Udit, comes and says, you know what, I need a project completed. Let's say this is an e-commerce website that I need you to design for me. At that point, Udit knows what needs to be done, an e-commerce website, the timing expectation. They maybe communicated with their stakeholders that it needs to be done within a month, and they know how much money that they could probably afford. And they go with, let's say, $10,000 I'll be able to give you. The management at that point in company A says like, well, I don't want to miss a customer. They just came to us. So they say we can do that. But what they do while they're saying that, they are just full of assumptions. They only assume how much time their team currently has available. They don't know really how long it would take for a project on that scale would take to complete. And based on these unknown factors, they can only create a quote that is an estimation. And in most cases, they probably would come back and say, you know what, if you can give 10K, I'll do it for 10K. Because they just don't know. They want to make sure that they keep the client. And then the management goes to team 1 and they say like, listen, here's what we need to do. Team 1, as being good employees, they say like, you know what, go do it kind of mentality, says we're on it. They start to work. They don't track their time. They don't have any historical data because they didn't track their time. And they just have no idea where each member of the team is on the project, because the project progression is not being tracked. So they don't really have any, T minus X amount of hours, T minus X amount of days, T minus X amount of tasks to complete the project. At the end, there are really 2 potential options that might come out of this. You might actually, go overtime and ask your employees as management to work overtime and finish the project on time. At that point, the client will be happy because they just got the project delivered to them at a reasonable time. But the management had to probably pay overtime for their employees, or if they didn't have the means to do that, they just, it prevented them from assigning additional projects to them. So they're losing money. And the employees are overall unhappy because they just, been working significantly more than what they initially were assuming. And unhappy employee population is never good in a company. Or there's another alternative. You can keep the current pace and You can delay the project. I guess there's a typo. Client is not happy. They're unhappy because you just delayed the project. They had their stakeholders waiting for a month's delivery because that's what they communicated to them early on. Maybe if the management here could tell, oh, you know what, it would take 2 months, then they Udit could go and say, like, you know what, we need 2 months because that's what they've just told us. And since the client is unhappy, the management is at that point losing Udit as a client, and they're simply just unhappy. And since they haven't done anything during this hectic and disastrous process, like keeping track of their time, keeping track of their tasks, their project, their budget, their team, they're just doomed to repeat the same mistake and same cycle all over again, constantly losing clients and making their employees unhappy. However, if Udit decided to go with company B, and let's say the company B is working with BeforeSunset on developing their work management tool, Udit would come and say, like, you know what, I need an e-commerce tool. Udit would have the same set of information that he has from before, but the management would say, yeah, we can definitely build an e-commerce website, but based on what my team's available time and their hourly rate or the project hourly rate, I can give you a better estimation on the quote because I know all of the unknowns right now. They might come back and say, like, you know what, we can finish it in 2 months. Or, you know what, instead of 10K, if you want us to finish in 1 month, you would have to pay 15 because I need to pay my employees overtime or bring in an additional employee, that fifth employee that I was talking about earlier. It just gives the management the tools to be able to do that. On the team front, they know exactly how their previous e-commerce website build went. They go like, okay, so last e-commerce, when Jaylan came and asked, we spend 15 hours on development. We spend 15 hours on playbook, something like you just start creating 5 hours on testing, 5 hours of debugging. So they know how much time on average it could go. And they could put in a buffer. They say, like, you know what, plus or minus 5 hours. And they start working towards that. And they keep on tracking and optimizing the data for the next time. They would need to put in less buffer because the average time, let's say they spent 15 hours on one project and 20 in the other one, you can say, you know what, let's say 18 hours for the next time someone comes for an e-commerce project. And at the end of the project, the client is happy because they got the product delivered on time. The management is happy because they made the client happy, and their employee is also happy, which makes the management happy and the employees wanting to stay with the company and keep on delivering good results. All right. So with that, I think it's a good segue to kind of show everyone how we can use BeforeSunset in its current state and how you can benefit from using it overall. What do you say, Udit? Is that a good time to jump over, or are there any questions in chat that you want us to address first?
No, I think perfect. We can just dive into the product demo and then we can go into all the questions.
Awesome, awesome. So let me set it up. So what I'll do is I'll pull up an account that I use to show you how it looks, how the tool looks overall, and then how a used tool can benefit you in the long run. And if we have time left, maybe we can create an account for Udit to see how the onboarding process goes. All right, awesome. So can you see my screen, Jaylan? Can you see it, Udit?
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. So when you log into BeforeSunset, this would be the main page that you would come across. This is the page where it shows you either your daily or your weekly times. Here you have a chance to input how much time you may have spent on a specific task. So here, today is the 16th. I haven't logged any time yet. So if I wanted to log time, I would go and click onto this plus button, and it would bring me a time entry window. I would say, you know what, I am working for, let's say, Sunset Software. And then my task here now, I'm in a meeting, I'm explaining how the timer works. So I'll just put that in here. And then I can add a note here saying, like, PG webinar. And then here I have two options. The current tool capabilities either allow you to start a timer that would, count the time until you stop it, or you can go in and manually add however many hours you want to add in. So for the sake of this, I'll just say PG webinar demo and I'll start the timer. So I'll start counting how much time it will take us to do this demo process. If you want, so you can add your daily times here. You can also backtrack individual day and say, like, you know what, I forgot I had a dinner meeting with one of my coffee maker employees, and I was, it was a work meeting, and I would like to be, considered. I want that to be considered as work, although it was a lot of food. So you can go in here and then say, okay, coffee maker, and then you would probably call that as a meeting, and then you say, you know what, that was a 2-hour dinner meeting. And then boom, you save your time, and now you did not lose any time that you spent on the project. Or on the flip side, you can come back and say, you know what, I have every week on Tuesdays, I have a 1-hour meeting for coffee maker. So I can just go in here and say, like, you know what, boom, I'll just put that in there for development, let's say. I missed a meeting, but you get the point. You can just add how much time you spend on there on a weekly basis as well. So right now, what you're seeing on this top thumbnail is how an account manager views BeforeSunset. There are different accesses within the application that allows us technically to, not require users to have multiple workspaces for different clients. If you're an account manager and you have a team of, like, let's say 10 people, and then you have 5 clients, 2 employees working for each client, you can make those employees only users for a specific client, and they would only see how much time they're keeping track of and the project page, but only their own project, their own client, nothing else. And then they would be seeing their feed where it gives them a significant deep dive on how their week has been going so far, how much time they've spent, how much time they have left, how much time was recorded for a billable task, how much time was recorded to a non-billable task. And then right now it tells me, like, you still have 6 hours that you can work to your capacity of 30 hours. It tells you, okay, this week you work for this company, Acme 123, 11 hours. Coffee maker, you work 9. Brewery, you work 4. Those are your specific projects that you were putting in time for. And then finally, you have your specific tasks. These tasks are interchangeable. You create tasks and then assign tasks to projects and clients. And it tells you how much time on a given week that you were spending on design work. Maybe you're just being overloaded with design. Let's say the design was, instead of 11, it was 18, 19, 20. Out of the 24 that you captured. At that point, maybe it will give you the insight saying, you know what, maybe we need to hire a designer because I need more time to be spent on meetings, or maybe development work, testing, whatever it might be. Here I did briefly show the project page. Here you can see a summary of how your projects are going for the individual clients that you're seeing here. The Acme store, had a budget of 300 hours. It was a hour-based budgeting that they did, and we put in 189 hours and 51 minutes. So we're still we still have 36% of the time remaining to finish the project. But in this one, for Brew, the coffee maker project, the budget was only $1,000, but based on the rate that we placed on our employees, well, let's say, like, I have a rate of hourly $20, Jalen has 25. Based on the time that they put in, we went overboard, and it's just warning me saying, like, you either need to go back and negotiate with Brew on what you need to do, or you're just under 12,000 and some change. And then you can see as an account manager how your team is performing overall. What are they doing? What's the team capacity? How much of that has been spent? Here you can say 3 employees, 30 hours each, have 90 hours capability, and I just put in 48 hours and 42 minutes. So we're about somewhat over half of our capacity, so we can put in more hours. So if this was not Friday, I can, and if a client came to me and said like, hey, I need a project to be done by next week, it probably like, it's upgrading my website. And I would look and say like, okay, so I have 45 hours left this week. And then I probably have about 45 because I'm not taking any other clients. Do I have enough time? Yes. You look at your historical data, website development takes about 12 hours. So, okay, what does that mean? I can take another 33 hours of work if someone else came to me and asked for an additional project. At this point, you're gaining clients, you're making money, and you're making your employees and your clients happy at the same time as an account manager that has access to all of these team data. And then here is our reports page. This just gives the tool to the employer only. This is not a tool that can be used by the user. What the employer can get out of this is just a detailed time report for their projects, their employees, and essentially overall company performance. Similar insights for user by user are provided under my feed and is as impactful as this. This just gives the account manager, the employer, a holistic view of how they're doing. So let's say I want to create a detailed time report for this week for everyone. Like let's say create a very major report. Okay, so I have all of these clients and all of these projects listed here. It gives me total hours that has been spent, and I can sort it by client, I can sort by project, I can sort by task, team, or date, really. But at the end, I can also like enable notes to be visible as well. And if they put in notes, at the end, you can just create a PDF downloadable content that you can pull, and you'll download it, you can pull it up, and boom, something you can share with your customers if needed. For it, sending to a customer for billing purposes, what you would do is you'll go back here. Let's say you're looking to send a invoice to your customer Brew for coffee maker project, and then you create that detailed time report, and it'll tell you, okay, you have total billable amount of $1,035 for the Brew coffee maker project. So you print this, or you create a CSV, whatever, or an Excel document. You print this out, or you just send it to the customer and say like, please send me the money as soon as possible so I don't lose money. And then here on the right, you can look at your, create your profile, play with it a little bit. You can make an employee a contractor if you want. If you want to, limit their access further, you can create departments within the tool so you can better differentiate people and how they're working. You can increase the capacity of the individual for like yourself and as well as the team members if you're an account or a project manager. You can put in billable rates, your cost rate for any individual. You can edit projects. You can just unassign this person or yourself from any project that might be available. And then that's pretty much it on this side. You can always get a product tour when you are stuck what you're doing. Maybe you forgot how to use it. Maybe you don't have resources that's readily available to you, or you just want to, have a one-stop shop. So you can just start a tour here, and it will take you through each task, how to create a project, how to add a client, and then you can just jump through the steps, filling it out one by one, and finish your onboarding process whenever you would like. And that is it, I would say, for the time being on what we are capable of doing now. I want to touch a little bit on what we will be capable of doing in the near future with respect to the product roadmap that we've created and constantly updating with the feedback that we're getting from customers. We will be increasing the number of integrations that we can have. That includes like different video conferencing alternatives and other tools that are heavily used: Outlook, Gmail, Zoom, Stripe to receive and request payments. Those are already in the pipeline. Those will be coming and will be alleviating further actions to be taken by users. But at the moment, with the current status, we're just looking to create a power user database and ask for their help to keep us chugging forward to create a superior product. That's it. So it took me 9 minutes, and I'll just stop here.
Thank you so much for that in-depth walkthrough of the entire product. I do have a lot of questions, so I'm going to dive into those questions right away. With the first
Absolutely.
coming in, do you guys happen to have Zapier integration live at the moment?
So our current integrations are very limited. The tool itself currently doesn't support, but that is one of the things that we have in the pipeline that are coming to make sure that we can use Zapier like integration tools to integrate with other tools.
Got it. The next question coming in is, how do you guys differentiate yourself from Toggle?
Yeah, so I would say, like I mentioned earlier, so when it comes to Toggle is, I mean, it's a decent tool. I don't want to, give any bad talk to a potential competitor. But like I said, we are looking at this at a more holistic approach. They are more geared towards, first, as Jaylan was saying, they're more geared towards employers. That is not what we want. We want to be able to give tools to the new workforce that want to feel appreciated, that want to have some time for themselves. And so that's one side. The other is also very important. Those are very focused on time and task. What we want to have this holistic approach of time, task, project, team, and budget. They don't have any team collaboration efforts. They just put in the time and forget it. That is not what we want to do, because we know, I don't want to be a cliche, but teamwork makes the dream work. And we want to enforce that. We want to make sure that we give tools to the customers that they can, you know what, let's say we're both recording time on BeforeSunset. We're both working towards the webinar prep. And then I start recording, you start recording. And at that point, I'll be able to see, oh, Udit is working on the prep as well. So let me go ping him. I'll ping you. I'll come next to you if you're in the same office. Say like, hey, we want to work together. I think that would be very beneficial. We'll be on the same page instead of spending extra time to come have a meeting of an hour. Okay, are we aligned? Well, we could be aligned 5 hours ago. So that's just a small example.
Awesome. I'll move on to the next question. Is it possible to integrate the employee KPI, KRA management software?
Absolutely. I mean, if that's something that our customers see value in, that's definitely not off the table. We want to create different templates for our customers to use, and KPI like metrics, being able to track them in a template format or another software that helps them keep track of them, integrating with them would not be outside of the scope at all. I think it would benefit them in the long run.
Great. Next question coming in is there any sort of employee tracking that happens where it takes screenshots by any chance?
No, absolutely not.
And
We're 1,000 against 1,000% against that type of approach. We want to make sure that everyone is honest in what they're doing and don't feel like they're getting tracked. Because I'll put in a personal plug-in. I think that's a horrible thing to do to an employee, because that just means that you're not trusting them while you're trusting them to do the work for you. That is, I think, a little hypocritical, in my opinion. So if you're trusting them to do the work, and if they do it, I don't think there's anything else you need to be concern yourself with.
Great.
So, absolutely.
Coming in is, does the software support agile methodologies?
So that was actually one of the feedbacks that we recently received during our vast customer interviews. At the moment, no, but we want to be able to connect with different agile platforms that support execution of agile tasks and be able to integrate with them and say like, okay, so you just had a Scrum meeting and you were the Scrum master, so you probably will be the account manager as well. So that type of interactions are definitely in the pipeline.
Got it. Perfect. Moving on to the next question. Does BeforeSunset integrates with platforms like Dropbox or Google Drive for the files to kind of like pull in?
So for the file pulling, no, it is not. But I would like to very much kind of like get a better understanding of what the integration would be. So if the person who's asking the question could reach out to us and explain, and if we, see value, we'd be more than happy to investigate further and make our customers happy.
Awesome. I'll move on to the next question. Can the software handle project budgeting and cost tracking as well?
Yes. So for that, you need to, like, before a project begins, you'll be setting, first of all, you'll be creating a team. So you'll start the client, you'll start the project, and then it'll ask you, is this a billable project or a non-billable project? If you say billable, great. It will tell you different options. Do you want to bill by hour? Do you want to bill by hour tracked? Or do you have a rate per hour? And then okay, perfect. And some employees will have a set billable rate, but the tool, different than the other competition. Let's say my set billable rate is $20 per hour, but we just get a project that is like very technical and very challenging, and they're paying us a lot of money, let's say, or like it will require me to go above and beyond. So my management, in order to maybe push me a little bit and make me feel a little bit more appreciated, have the ability to change my unique billable hour for that project only to, let's say, $25. And at the end, it will calculate to you how much money you should be charging at the end. And then while you're keeping track of the time that you're recording, at the end, like I said, like I showed on that PDF document, it'll tell you, okay, at the end, you just need to bill your client $1,035. So absolutely, it will tell you how much money you have left based on the hours tracked, how much money you had, how much hour you had, how much hour you have left, and etc.
Got it. Is there any Kanban board?
Jaya, do you want to take that?
So what's similar to a Kanban board is the team view. So anyone can come in and like get a holistic view of what everything looks like. When it comes to that, can be done per user, per project, per like general project as well. So like there's different ways to view. It's also can also differ in terms of like weekly view, monthly view, custom intervals. So there's definitely like different ways of holistic views.
Got it. Can you guys quickly like show that part in terms of how that can be handled inside the tool?
Look at the team view overall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's of course going to look a little bit different in what Botan is going to show right now, because there are not as many entries. But once you do start putting in different projects, putting in different clients, users, that's going to be more of a holistic view. Perhaps it could make sense. Like we, as Botan previously mentioned, there's like a wider demo in our channel, as well as like you can take a look at our website. Like there is a better understanding of what that holistic view looks like.
got it.
Absolutely. So unless I understood wrong, like you're looking for a more holistic view of the team and how they are performing. You can also do this by weekly or monthly. You can. It's not letting me right now, but it might be because of Zoom. But like you can look at your overall team performance, go in here and then like view members and then see how they're doing individually, and then go back. Well, that was me, but still, like I can go here and view member and see how Elif is doing, how much time she's put in, and get that insight that way, if that answers your question.
Got it. I have a general question over here. A lot of times, especially when you're working remote, there could be possibilities or chances that people would just like bill you for hours, but they're not actually working. And while you're onboarding someone, building trust can take a lot of time. Or once you have built some trust, there could be possibilities that people are just misusing the trust. And that has happened to a lot of companies, which forces a lot of companies to sort of just implement the screenshot methodology, where it's just randomly taking screenshots. What are your thoughts on something like this with regards to BeforeSunset? How would a company, if something like this happens, why would a company pick BeforeSunset over any other tool? And how do companies usually deal with it in general?
Just to quickly jump in there, we came out with the philosophy that we trust employees above all else. Yes, there will be exceptions, but they will be like these kind of instances will be exceptions as far as our philosophy goes. Once you empower your workers with your trust, I think that creates more of a sense of responsibility and a commitment to the company and you, why, like in a general sense. That's the philosophy we implement within our own company as well. Yes, we do time tracking, but we instill a certain trust in our employees that allows them to go above and beyond our expectations. And like that kind of building that kind of trustworthy environment is what's going to be completely necessary going forward in all companies across the globe. So I think transitioning into that mindset will create a more healthier work environment, in our opinion. That is why we are shying away and will not be installing any kind of privacy violations or like those kind of restrictions in our platform, because again, we want to empower workers.
Perfect.
To add on that,
Yep.
yeah, that was a great point that Jaylan mentioned. We definitely want to empower employees, but also, I mean, we, like I mentioned earlier, I think the outcome that everyone wants is that a job getting done, right?
Right.
And essentially, when you hire someone, you're hiring them to do that job, and if they do it, I personally like, and if I told them like 20 hours, it will take 20 hours. And if they finish it in 20 hours, great. If they do over 25, 30, 35, I will have data in my hand from previous examples to say like, hey, like it looks like this took a little longer than your previous examples. Can you elaborate on that? We want to be able to, you know, help them improve as well. If there was a roadblock, we want to know that. We want to be able to help them with it. So it's more like we want to help our employees develop and give them the trust that we think they deserve because we brought them on board.
Got it. There's one more question coming in, which is regarding the same sort of discussion that we're having. Can you monitor the screen to see the work rate? You might not just take the screenshot, but is it possible to at least understand their work rate?
When you say work rate, like how much time they're spending on a specific application, how much time they're spending on screen overall?
Yeah. So for example, kind of like, let's say movement activities, right? You might not be tracking their screenshots. You might not be like taking sessions, but you're just tracking like some of their work rates, and you're also able to understand whether they're just working or not, right? Is it something like that you guys are planning?
So that's a yes and no question, and I'll explain why. And Jayla might need to drop off here, so I'll just kind of take the reins back. But so when we bring in the integrations that we're targeting to bring in, different integrations with different applications, that type of information will be available in the reports that we'll be pulling. It will be telling me like, oh, like Batuhan spent 1 hour in Zoom. They worked on this activity, and it was like taken through integration. It wasn't like manually inputted. So that kind of gives that aspect a little bit, but nothing on the sense like, if the question was, oh, like, is there going to be like active, inactive, away, out of office type of, you know, like, oh, he didn't touch the mouse for 5 minutes, so it's definitely is not working. Like there's nothing in that sense that we were looking to incorporate.
I do want to jump in here to say that I do have another obligation, but it was lovely to have this conversation with you. I'll let Batuhan take over, but hopefully we're very, very excited to hear from you. We're excited to transition our product roadmap along with our new users. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And so nice to get together here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Perfect. I'll move on to the next question. How does it help in balancing schedule and existing priorities?
So with respect to kind of helping with the schedule and priorities, by keeping track of what you're doing and how much time you're spending on a specific task, it will be able to that, okay, so project A has a development task that took me 25 hours last week, and I have only 2 more days to finish this project. So I need to shift my attention to that, knowing that it takes so much time and I don't have any more time. By giving you that insight, it will be able to tell you with the current setup, ask you to kind of maybe ask the user to make a little bit more of a judgment by themselves. However, in the future, by bringing in machine learning and AI algorithms, we are looking to provide notifications to users saying like, hey, you have two more days left on this specific task to finish this task. You already put in 25 hours and you're scheduled to put like 15 more hours on this in 2 days. So you better hurry. Like, you're just running out of time. So those type of insights are what we're looking to achieve in the first half of hopefully 2022 to some extent.
Awesome. Perfect. Moving on to the next question. Do you plan to have any sort of mind mapping by any chance of like the entire report of how things are happening, what are the flows, what are the current existing work, right? You can create like a mind map. Is there any possibility that you guys have that, or like planning something like that in the future?
So when you say mind map, how is that different than looking at like the overall projects and how much, how much tasks, how much hours? I'm just trying to understand a little better.
I think mind mapping is more visual versus more like just a list view. And a lot of people in general, especially if we are talking about the freelancers in general, they're a bit more creative sort of people, and prefer to just see everything visually in terms of reporting versus just something manually, right? So I think that's where the query is coming in, that is there a way to just create everything into a mind map, a simple mind map that just makes things a lot more easy and visually appealing for people to just quickly glimpse through.
So absolutely, and I want to talk. This is a great point, and I want to kind of remind everyone on the call that we're hoping to create these templates that are available to our users in the long run, and I don't see any reason why one of these templates not being a mind map that would support, like you said, more kind of like visually creative individuals who we are targeting, probably under the freelancers world, or maybe like product companies that focus on more on like graphic design or something. So absolutely, I think that makes so much sense, and something that we could absolutely, I can take notes here saying that like that's something that we should be looking into when it comes to those templates to work with.
Perfect. Next question is, do you plan to add any sort of gamification in the future to sort of like maybe help companies to get the work done faster? So for example, there is going to be $100 bonus if you can complete this in X hours or X number of days, right? Like just gamifying thing for people so that they take those hours very seriously. And it's kind of like a reward, right? You kind of like add in those small rewards, or it can be something like you might win an Apple Watch, or you could win like a $50 Amazon voucher, right? Like some sort of a reward just to gamify a bit of the entire game, to kind of like make them spend a little more time, or maybe make them get the work done faster, because a lot of humans have the capabilities to get the things faster, but they sometimes just take their own hours because they feel, okay, I have been given 20 hours, I'll take the entire 20 hours, versus the work can actually be done in 8 hours, right? And for companies, that 8 hours, getting things completed in 8 hours can be a lot more vital to be sort of like just accelerating and delivering the project to the customer. So any plans for something like that?
I mean, to be honest with you, no, but there's a reason for that, because I feel like that would be something that our users would have to do themselves, nothing like to be specific in the app. We can give them the tools to be able to tell who finished the work faster, or like who was working at a more rapid pace. That's something that we can provide, and we do provide that, right? But
usually what happens is when you have it in the app, there's those notifications goes by, hey, if you complete this in X hours, you are just 2 hours away to get your work completed in order to win a $50 voucher, right? So when you send those notifications to people, it gives them a trigger and that boost to get things done faster, because ultimately we humans generally care about timelines, and timeline is that one sort of like weapon, even as an individual, to get things done. For me, I always keep deadline and timelines for everything. And when I do that, I'm able to sort of push my mind into coming up with more creative ideas to kind of deliver, right? Or else if there are
Right.
no timelines, generally what happens is we get into the phase where let's just get going, right? Let's just keep things going on versus let's actually get going. Right? This is just a mind shift change. I generally feel like this can give like before sunset a good edge in terms of feature, and it's also not that difficult to implement in terms of what you guys have already built. It's just like a separate system and some input fields, because the reward itself is not going to be handled by the software. It's going to be
Right.
manual. It's just going to show up over here. So I just feel like it can give you guys some great new edge in terms of something different as compared to what other companies are offering.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. From getting a different edge and satisfying a customer's need from that point is definitely something that we would want to dismiss. So these are, I mean, I'm loving this. This is great. I mean, beyond showing Before Sunset what it can do, people telling us like what Before Sunset can do, and us taking it back, weighing on it, talking to some more expanded population, say like, would you be interested in this? And if they say, we just picked someone's brain for free. But so I truly appreciate that. I think that's something that we can absolutely look into analyzing and assessing.
Perfect. Next question is, do you happen to have any sort of like client portal where the clients can be given access to? So for example, let's say that I've written down all the projects over here, but in this particular workspace, I also want to add my client to just show them the progress that's happening for that particular project. Is there a possibility to do that?
Yes, you can put them in as account managers or a project manager to be able to see only their own respective projects, and they will be able to see the progress on who's working on what. So if that's something that comes up, the tool has the capability of giving the power to the clients as well as one of the three populations that suffer the.
So Batu, I think I would highly recommend you one feature over here. Maybe just introduce one more permissions and call it client. Because generally what happens is people will never figure out that you can add project manager as a client. And generally that's a little tricky UX as well, that people would never send out a client request to anyone as a project manager. So I think if you can just like sort of replicate that and just introduce like a client invite option, I think that will just solve this problem very quickly.
Yeah, to make it a little bit more clear on
make the UX a lot more easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense, and make it easier for the. I mean, yes, the access won't change. It'll be identical, but
like you're duplicating the field and just calling it like client, right?
Yeah.
So for
right.
what's happening in the backend, they don't care. But when they go and invite and they see, oh, there is a client option, that means I can invite my client versus I don't know how do I invite my client, right? So it
Right.
changes while everything pretty much remains the same.
Yeah, definitely. So more stuff to add the pipeline, more stuff to be coming up here in early 2023 for sure.
Awesome. Are you guys GDPR compliant?
Yes.
Perfect. Moving on to the next question. Is BeforeSunset integrated with Google Calendar?
Not yet, but Outlook, Google Calendar, and other calendar applications, Calendly, those are the ones that we are working to get integrated in the back end, so we can tell them like, okay, so you just went out of a 1 hour meeting with PitchGround on the webinar. Which project would you like to bill it under or like record it under? Yes.
Got it. Moving on to the next question. How many projects can we handle inside BeforeSunset right now?
As many as you want.
Perfect.
You can just put in as many as you want.
Perfect. Moving on to the next question. Does the software handle any sort of team communication?
Nothing team communication specific. One of the features that are coming, the one that I mentioned earlier, it will be able to tell you who's working on what, but you would have to rely on communication specific tools to contact them and say like, hey, I saw you're working on this specific task, and spark the conversation that way. We didn't feel the need to boil the ocean and bring that aspect into it, we wanted to make sure that we give them a simple, not overcomplicated tool that focuses on one thing and one thing alone, which is work management. So that is not covered under the
Next question is, are you planning to add any sort of billing system in the future where you could just send an invoice to your clients and bill them, or maybe have some sort of an integrations with platforms like PayPal
Stripe.
and no, not just Stripe, but Wise, to also sort of make payouts to your team members with just a single click. For example, now I see that X, so for example, JLM, she worked for 10 hours and she's supposed to be paid $50 an hour. So she has already worked 10 hours. So there's like a $500 that's currently due. So now what is happening is I have to go and manually sort of pay and then come back and mark it as paid, versus there's some sort of like a Wise integration or a Payoneer integration. I can just click a button and the payout is done, right? And it's being marked. So is this something that's under the roadmap or under development already?
It is on the roadmap. Part of it has been underway, but I want to exercise caution on one thing, which is the payroll side of things. The tool is set up to be able to be utilized by people who are on salary as well as hourly rate paid employees. So like there's the three profiles that we were talking about. So we just need to tread carefully when we're billing to the customer. That is going to happen. It is in the works. But for payroll side of things, we have to be a little bit more aware of which levers we're pulling and which users profiles we're giving access, or like kind of enabling the payroll integration to take place. But it is definitely a possibility.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. Can the software handle project resource allocation and capacity management?
Yes. So based on the capacity that you set per project, for example, here, and your employee and your employees, you can definitely see how your project is going with respect to the capacity you have left or the money that you have left, whichever way you set up a project or a client. But the short answer is yes.
Perfect. I'll move on to the next question. Is there any sort of weekly reporting that is automated and you get like some sort of a weekly report or something, or you just have to like come manually and check them?
So at the moment, there is no automated process, but that's another thing that's in the works. For that, we'll be integrating with email applications to automatically send an email saying like, here's your weekly report, here's your monthly report, here's your annual report. That would be coming up at whichever day you set it out to be coming. Absolutely.
There's a follow-up question.
Like currently it's, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a follow-up question to this as well, that is there an ability to sort of upload our own logo and create a customized report for our clients? So for example, let's say that we have taken up a project for web development, for an example, right? And there is like an X number of hours that needs to be built up. Now, is there a way I can just like, or X number of hours that I've worked up and I need to send out some sort of a report to my client, which is like either weekly or monthly. So is there a way I can like just press a button, export with what are the number of projects that has been done, where the number of hours that has been gone by, and how many total hours has been spent, and with my like sort of like logo uploaded on that somewhere, so some sort of a PDF that I can just download and send it to my client. Is this something that's a possibility right now?
Absolutely. So let's do monthly. Okay, assume monthly. 1st to 31st, or maybe like let's do it like that for now. And let's say the client in question is Brew, and you said web development. I'll just do the coffee maker here because that's the example that we have. And you can pick the tasks if you want. We can just like do, let's send them a report on only development, and for everyone who worked on the project, which in this case is 3. When I hit create detailed time report, it will give me exactly how much time and how much billable amount is present here. I can add, if I took notes, I can, say, okay, here's how much money I have created, or sorry, how much what I worked on specifically under development and with the notes, and I can export it in PDF, and it will load here. And with the BeforeSunset logo, it does come out with, and then it just creates you the detailed report, and you can send it to the
Is there a
customer.
possibility to
Now,
replace, because generally people would not appreciate where BeforeSunset logo is there because it can also cause a lot of confusion.
oh, absolutely. So in that case, I would, so right now, no, but you can create an Excel report here that you can pull that would look a little bit like this, and you can create your own report, but I don't see why we won't be able to enable our customers to, customize the reports further than this in the near future.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that will just make things a lot more easier, because just putting it to Excel and then adding logo over there is just extra work,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
The next question. Can the software handle project milestones and deliverables?
With the current capacity, no. But to be able to do that, we're open to integrating with other specific project management tools that are out there, and be the resource that brings everything together. So, like, for example, stuff like Jira or other specific project management tools that are heavily used by like software development folks and others. If we were to bring those in, they will be transferable between two applications thanks to the integration.
Perfect. So we'll just take a couple of other questions before we wrap this up. How does software handle project approvals and sign-offs?
Project approvals and sign-offs. So only an account manager, usually the account manager status is assigned to someone when they create their BeforeSunset account, have the capability of creating projects and making people project managers. So it's all under the account manager's responsibility to create projects. And then once they assign a project manager to that project, the project manager would have capability of adding new people, users onto the account, and have them keep track under that project. So that's how it's handled. So a user doesn't go and create a project or request it to be created. The account manager would have created, and that's how they would know a project exists in the first place, technically, in BeforeSunset.
Perfect. I think I'll probably keep this as the last question. How does the software handle reviews and feedback?
So we have different ways to interact with our customers. One of them is obviously our, support email that is outside of the application, but we also have interface. We have interface with Intercom, and we have around the clock folks who, chat with users and accept feedback. And our public roadmap has also ways for you to go in and make recommendations and suggestions on what next should be happening on the product.
Perfect. I think pretty much covered all the questions. Guys, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Meanwhile, let me just quickly share my screen.
Let me stop sharing.
Perfect. So as you can see, BeforeSunset right now is on a lifetime deal at the moment. It's literally just $49 for a team of 10. You get one workspace. For $99, you get 30 users. If you have that, you're already minting money, by the way. So congratulations if you have that. And if you don't want to bother about the future growth at all, then I would say it's a great one-time investment of Plan C, which is unlimited users. To grab this, it's a brilliant piece of software, as you can see, and they're actively developing. They're about to raise the next round very, very, very soon. The team is fantastic, and I think I really like the UI UX of the entire platform. It's very smooth, very simple, very precise, and it doesn't take that long. The learning curve is not that crazy, so I would highly recommend you to check it out. Brilliant team, I think. They highly fit into our 3Ps, which is a brilliant product, brilliant team, and more importantly, a brilliant pricing for you at the same time. If you're a small business, one code should be more than sufficient. If you are sort of growing small business, then this plan is perfect. And if you are into mid-sized business or anything above, I think Plan Z is just absolutely brilliant for you. So before we wrap up, but to any sort of closing lines that you have for our team?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for calling in. This is a great opportunity for us to, put our name out there and getting more power users for our platform. Udit touched on, I think this is a great deal for both parties to benefit from. Please go check out our website. We have a newsletter that you can sign up that gives a lot of great productivity feedbacks. In there, we have daily blogs that are getting posted. Our content creating team is just, they're fascinating me every day. I read the blogs and I go like, wow, maybe I should be trying this and this. They share so many good stuff. And finally, well, not finally, we have a Slack community, Productivity Geeks. A lot of good stuff happened there. So I encourage you to sign up there again on our website. And we have a Facebook group that's a private group. Please feel free to ask for a permission to join. We use that platform to have open conversation as well as a go-to kind of like playbook on how to use BeforeSunset. We share like how you can use a specific feature. We ask questions. We try to collect feedback from users and just make that a living page as it is. All of our emails are on the website. Please feel free to reach individually if you have any questions. We are a very active group of people. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to each and every one of you if you're interested. And don't forget to check out the demo video that Jaylan recorded, which is also available in YouTube and our website.
Awesome. With that, we will be wrapping up. Do check it out. Incredible product, amazing pricing. And we'll be coming back very soon with another episode with the BeforeSunset team, where we'll dive more into how you can like price if you're an agency, how you can start pricing better, and in terms of more value-driven webinar. And until then, thank you so much, everyone. Have a blast over the weekend. And yeah, I think Christmas is coming up, New Year is coming up. This is the time to kind of like also take some time off. So make sure that you're not overworking during this time, so that you can refresh and just log your 2023 as well. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you guys in the next PitchGround Live. Until then.